What if the most profound truths about existence, about consciousness, even about your very self, weren't hidden away somewhere obscure? What if they were actually right there, maybe encoded in a single syllable, or revealed just by, paying attention to your daily states of being? Imagine ancient wisdom offering a kind of direct shortcut to understanding who you truly are, beyond the roles you play, or the dreams you have, or even that deep, dreamless sleep. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating deep dive. We're looking at two incredibly potent sources: the Mandukya Upanishad, often called the absolute essence of Upanishadic wisdom, and the Brahma Sutras, which are revered as this comprehensive map into the heart of reality itself. So, our mission today is to unpack these ancient texts, try to make their insights accessible, relevant, and maybe guide you towards a kind of aha moment about your own consciousness and, well, the ultimate nature of everything.
That's a great way to put it. These texts truly are like a master key, I think, to unlocking centuries of philosophical thought. The Mandukya Upanishad, it's remarkably short, just 12 verses, but it offers this really direct path to understanding human nature and reality. It does this through the mystic syllable Om and these four states of consciousness. Then you have the Brahma Sutras, which act like a thread, sort of stitching together the insights from all the Upanishads. They provide a logical framework, helping resolve doubts, integrate these powerful ideas. Together, yeah, they offer a profound pathway to understanding the identity of the individual self, that's Atman, and the universal reality Brahman.
Okay, so we're diving right into the heart of consciousness here. Let's start with the Mandukya Upanishad. You said it's concise, but it begins with a truly bold declaration, almost like a cosmic thunderclap. What's its opening statement?
It jumps right in. It declares that Om is the imperishable word encompassing all that exists. Now, this isn't just a sound you might chant in yoga class. Think of Om as like the primordial cosmic vibration that existed before anything else. It's sometimes called the Bija mantra, the seed sound for all creation. It includes everything past, present, future, and, crucially, that which transcends time itself. And the Upanishad highlights Om's twofold nature. You have its temporal syllables, A, U, M, which we hear, and then its eternal soundless aspect. It's a bit like a river, A river has its distinct name and form, but eventually it merges into the ocean and those distinctions just dissolve. So this powerful concept means Om is both the manifested world you see around you and the pure consciousness that's behind it all.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge claim. Om is literally everything. How does the Upanishad then immediately connect this cosmic everything back to our personal experience? It doesn't just leave it out there.
No, it brings it right home. It moves swiftly to state, all this is verily Brahman. This Atman is Brahman. This Atman has four quarters. Now, this is the absolute core teaching of Vedanta. The ultimate reality, Brahman, is identical with your essential self, Atman. It's really asking us to challenge the assumption that the universe is just a collection of separate things. Instead, it suggests all these diverse things, though they appear different, are fundamentally one. Like you could have many gold ornaments, rings, necklaces, but at their core, they're all still just gold.
Yeah.
The Upanishad then introduces this idea of the Atman having four quarters, not literal physical parts, obviously, but more like aspects for analysis.
Aspects. Yeah.
And these correspond directly to our familiar states of consciousness: waking, dream, and deep sleep. Plus a fourth, transcendent state. And this is where it gets really interesting for understanding yourself, beyond just your personality, your physical body.
So, our everyday experience, waking, dreaming, sleeping, is actually a map to ultimate reality. That's quite a perspective shift right there. Let's explore these quarters of the Atman. What's the first one? The waking state.
The first quarter, or pada as it's called, is Vaisvanar. This represents the waking state. When you're awake, right now your consciousness is outwardly focused. The Sanskrit is Bhaipraja, fully engaged with the external world through your senses. The Upanishad describes this state with some pretty vivid imagery. It talks about 7 limbs and 19 mouths, which is essentially a highly intricate system. It represents both our individual senses and actions, and this grand cosmic self that sort of underpins it all. The key insight here, I think, is that your waking life isn't just a simple being present. It's a highly structured interaction. It reveals how even your daily desires are deeply intertwined with this cosmic dance, subtly shaping your reality and, well, often binding us to the cycle of samsara, of birth and death.
Okay, that's the waking state. Complex. And when we slip into sleep, what happens then? Does our consciousness just, turn off? Is it just blank?
Far from it, actually. The second quarter, or pada, is tayasa. This is associated with the dream state. Here, consciousness turns inward onto praja, interacting with internal, subtle objects, the stuff of dreams. Similar to the waking state, it's also described with a complex inner apparatus, but it's operating entirely within your mind. And the Upanishad really invites us to critique our common assumption that dreams are merely unreal compared to waking life.
Right, because they feel real when you're in them.
Exactly. Within the dream, the experience is pleasure, pain, seeing friends. They're profoundly real to the experiencer. It's like that classic analogy of mistaking a rope for a snake in the dark. The snake is terrifyingly real to the observer until the true reality, the rope, is perceived. And this perspective expands our view of dreams beyond just, say, repressed desires, as some Western psychoanalysts might suggest. Indian philosophy also points to things like past karma manifesting, maybe telepathic effects, or even divine grace playing a role. It offers a much richer tapestry for understanding why we dream.
That certainly broadens the view. Very different from just random brain firings. But what about deep sleep? When we seem to just turn off completely, no dreams, nothing.
That's the third quarter. Or palai, prajna, the deep sleep state. Here, the Upanishad says you neither desire objects nor see dreams. All experiences become unified. The term is ekibhuta, forming this homogeneous mass of consciousness. But crucially, this state isn't empty. It's described as being full of bliss and andamaya and the enjoyer of bliss and andapuk. Think about that deep refreshment you feel after a really good night's sleep. Where does that come from? The text suggests it comes from this inherent bliss, which transcends all the usual sensory and mental stuff. This really exposes the assumption that deep sleep is just a void or nothingness. It's not. It's also called the gateway, chatamukha, for the other states, meaning it's the sort of causal state from which waking and dreaming emerge. This unconscious absorption, this unity, were somehow coupled with awareness. Well, that would basically be self-realization right there.
So deep sleep isn't just a passive reboot like shutting down a computer. It's a profound state in itself, and it's connected to something even grander. That's truly mind-bending.
Precisely. And that leads us to a really stunning connection in the very next verse. This verse describes prajna, but from a cosmic standpoint. It says prajna is Ishvara, the supreme God of the universe.
Wow. Okay, so my deep sleep state is God.
In essence, yes, from that cosmic perspective. Ishvara is described as the Lord of all, Sarveshvara, knower of all, Sarvacha,
Really?
the inner controller, Antaryami, the source of all, Yoni Sarvasha, and the origin and dissolution of all beings. The profound insight here is that your deepest, most unified, most blissful, unconscious state is intrinsically connected to the universe's ultimate creative and dissolving force. It really shifts our understanding of individual freedom, doesn't it? It suggests our lives are part of this immense universal design, which influences our very karma. It challenges those modern assumptions about complete individual autonomy, prompting us to reflect, maybe, on our place within a larger cosmic will.
Okay, this is where the Mandukya truly challenges our everyday perceptions because it doesn't stop there. It speaks of a fourth state, Turiya, beyond anything we typically recognize. What exactly is this Turiya if it transcends waking, dreaming, and deep sleep?
Yes, this is the absolute pinnacle of the teaching. Turiya, the fourth state of consciousness, is the absolute reality itself. It transcends all the others. And interestingly, it's primarily described through negations. The text says what it isn't to help us grasp its indefinable nature. It's not internally conscious like dreaming, not externally conscious like waking, not a combination of both, not just a mass of consciousness like deep sleep, neither knowing nor unknowing in the usual sense. It's described as invisible, beyond empirical dealings, incomprehensible by the mind, uninferable through logic alone, and ultimately indescribable in words. This really encourages reflection on our usual definitions of consciousness, which are often, limited to sensory or mental activity. Turiya is beyond all that.
Okay, so if it's none of those things, then what is its essence? What's the positive description? What's the aha moment about our true identity here?
Its sole essence, the text says, is the consciousness of its own self, ekatma pratyasaram. It's that constant sense of I am, that pure awareness that remains steady throughout waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, even when all the roles, attributes, and experiences are stripped away. Turiya is the cessation of all phenomena, prapanchapachalam. It's peaceful, shantam, auspicious shivam, and fundamentally non-dual, advaitam. There's no separation in Turiya. It's not numerically the fourth state after the other three, but it's the numberless, measureless being itself, the absolute transcendence that underlies them all. This is the Atman, your true self, that is to be realized. And the profound aha moment is realizing your true identity lies not in the changing movie of your experiences, but in the unchanging screen of pure awareness behind them all.
That's profound. So, how do we begin to grasp this transcendent, indefinable state? Does the Upanishad offer a way in, a practical method?
It does, very directly. It explicitly declares, this identical Atman, or self, in the realm of sound, is the syllable Om.
Ah, back to Om.
Exactly. The four quarters of the Atman, waking, dream, deep sleep, Turiya, are directly correlated with the components of Om. It's the sounds A, U, M, and that soundless fourth aspect, which is called a matra. This correlation provides a powerful, systematic tool for meditation. It guides you through contemplating each state and its connection to Om, ultimately leading you towards experiencing that ultimate unifying consciousness. So Vaisvanara, the waking state, is correlated with A, Akara. Why A? Because A is sort of the first all-pervasive sound in language, just as waking is the beginning of our relative consciousness. Meditating on this unity, the text suggests, brings a sense of fulfillment and leadership.
Okay.
Then Taijasa, the dream state, is U, Ukara. U comes after A and is sort of in between A and M, just as dreaming is between waking and deep sleep. Meditating on this connection is said to grant superior knowledge and harmony.
And deep sleep.
Prajna, the deep sleep state, is M, Makara. M is like the measure or the closing sound where other sounds merge, just as all experiences merge into the unity of deep sleep. Meditating here is about gaining profound wisdom and realizing your unity with that underlying source, Ishvara.
And then the final step, the ultimate realization. What does the final verse reveal about the soundless aspect? And Turiya.
The final verse, verse 12, brings it all together beautifully. It states, that which has no parts, the soundless, the incomprehensible, beyond all the senses, the cessation of all phenomena, all blissful and non-dual realm, is the fourth. And verily, it is the same as the Atman. This is the soundless amatra, the silence after AUM, and it corresponds directly to Turiya. It's pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss, Sat Chidananda. It's where the distinction between creation and creator dissolves. And the profound benefit, the ultimate payoff of realizing this identity. The text says, he who knows this merges his self in the supreme self, the individual and the total. Yeah, this is self-realization. This is liberation, moksha. It's the ultimate goal, where your sense of being a separate individual self just evaporates into the limitless reality of the supreme self, Brahman. It's realizing you are that absolute limitless being, and you always were.
What an incredible deep dive into the Mandukya Upanishad. I mean, starting with Om, going through our states of consciousness, ending in this realization of Turiya. It's a lot to process. So what does this all mean for us now, living our lives today? Beyond these ancient verses, how do the Brahma Sutras, the other text you mentioned, help us integrate this profound understanding? How do they help us make sense of it all?
That's exactly where the Brahma Sutras come in. They act as this magnificent map to reality, as you called it earlier. Imagine them as a thread that skillfully stitches together all these pearls of wisdom found scattered across the different Upanishads, including the Mandukya. They were composed traditionally by Badarayana, also known as Vyasa, and consist of 555 short, incredibly concise aphorisms or sutras. They work to clarify seeming paradoxes between different Upanishadic statements and offer a reasoned, logical path towards understanding this ultimate truth. They tackle the biggest questions head-on. What's the origin of everything? What is this self, this Atman? And crucially, is this self truly identical with the absolute reality, Brahman? These aren't just abstract ideas. They probe the deepest philosophical contradictions we grapple with.
Monumental questions indeed. Where do the sutras even begin to tackle something like that? What's the starting point?
They begin with a famously powerful yet simple four-word sutra, Athato Brahma Jijnasa. Now, therefore, the inquiry into Brahman. And this now isn't just about time, like, okay, let's start now. It signifies a moment of readiness, a kind of spiritual ripening. It implies this inquiry begins after other pursuits, maybe wealth, pleasure, even religious duty have been explored and found ultimately unsatisfying in providing lasting fulfillment. It's when you're truly ready to ask, who am I really? What is this universe fundamentally? What is the eternal reality behind this whole shifting show? And that resonates so deeply in modern life, doesn't it? It's a reminder that there comes a time for this ultimate inquiry, a time not to be postponed indefinitely by the endless stream of distractions we face.
Right, that sense of, is this all there is?
Yeah.
Okay, so it calls for inquiry. How do the sutras help us navigate that, especially when the world feels so real, so solid and undeniable? How does it address our doubts? That's a key function of the sutras. They directly address doubts,
Yeah.
like the big one. Is the world real or just an illusion? They clarify, much like the Mandukya implies, that reality has different levels or orders. The world is certainly real at a transactional level, via Viharika Satya. A dream feels completely real while it lasts, right?
Absolutely.
But ultimately, this transactional reality rests upon and derives its existence from the absolute reality, Brahman Paramarthika Satya. Just like waves seem distinct but are nothing other than the ocean itself. Think of it like a child playing with clay. They make an elephant, then they squash it and make a cow. The forms change constantly, but the underlying substance, the clay, remains the same. The sutras argue Brahman is like the clay. This exposes that common assumption that our sensory world is the only reality, or the highest reality, and invites us to look deeper for the unchanging substratum beneath the appearances.
That's a really helpful analogy, the clay. In our modern world, though, we're bombarded with so many different philosophies, scientific views, conflicting ideas about reality. How do the sutras handle these kinds of opposing viewpoints and contradictions we face today?
They do it systematically. The sutras actually engage directly with the arguments of various opposing philosophical schools that existed at the time, materialists who said only matter is real, ritualists who believed only performing Vedic rites brought ultimate benefit, even early Buddhist schools. And the sutras consistently analyze these views and ask, do they really explain the totality of human experience? Do they account for our deepest longings, for meaning, for freedom, for immortality, for lasting peace? And their conclusion, repeatedly argued, is that only the recognition of Brahman, the non-dual reality as one's own self, can truly resolve these fundamental contradictions and satisfy those deep human yearnings. It's like think of a lamp in a dark room. Its light falls on many different objects, a chair, a table, a book. The objects appear distinct, illuminated differently, but the source of the light is just one single flame. Similarly, the sutras argue the one Brahman shines through it appears as many individual selves or jivas. When you realize yourself as that one light, that source, then fear and sorrow, which arise from perceived separation and limitation, naturally lose their hold. This encourages us to reflect on the actual root of our anxieties and desires, suggesting the path to genuine peace isn't just changing external circumstances, but realizing our true non-separate nature.
So the Mandukya gives us this incredible concentrated vision. Atman is Brahman, and the sutras then provide the logical framework, the arguments, the map, making it more robust and perhaps more livable.
Precisely. You could say the sutras water the powerful seed vision planted by the Mandukya and other Upanishads. They tackle the obvious follow-up question. If Atman really is Brahman, why do we feel so separate, so limited, so caught up in suffering? The answer they provide consistently is avidya, ignorance. Not just lack of information, but a deeper sort of beginningless veil of misidentification that makes us take the changing name and form, our body, mind, personality, to be our true self. So liberation, or moksha, isn't about gaining something new, achieving some future state. It's about lifting that veil of ignorance. It's like the mist disappearing when the sun rises, revealing the mountain that was always there. You realize you were never actually separate from Brahman. It's like finally seeing that the snake you were terrified of was only ever a rope. The fear vanishes instantly with the correct perception. And regarding the power of practices like meditating on Om or studying the sutras themselves, it's all about facilitating this shift in awareness. Just as a lullaby can quiet a restless child, the sound of Om, contemplated correctly, helps quiet the restless mind, allowing it to withdraw from the noisy multiplicity of the world back towards its silent, unified origin. The sutras firmly affirm that this profound knowledge, this direct seeing or realization, vidya, is itself the path to freedom.
Okay, this is incredibly deep and intellectually stimulating, but how can we realistically apply this ancient wisdom in our modern, often chaotic, busy lives? It can sound so abstract, so philosophical. You're saying it's actually practical.
Absolutely, it's meant to be intensely practical. The sutras aren't intended for dry academic debate. Their entire purpose, their heart, is guiding us towards practical realization. Think about watching a movie on a screen. While the drama unfolds, the action, the romance, the tragedy, you might get completely engrossed and forget the screen itself even exists.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Right. But when the movie ends, what remains? The screen. Pure, white, untouched by all the drama that played across it. The sutras and the Mandukya guide us to recognize that we are the screen, not the movie. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep, these are like different movies, different reels playing out. But our true nature, Turiya, Brahman, is the changeless screen, the conscious awareness upon which all experiences appear and disappear. So the question becomes, what happens when you wake up from the waking state itself? That is liberation. And when you start to carry even a glimmer of this awareness into daily life, everything begins to shift. Eating can become a sacrament, a conscious meeting with yourself, appearing in the form of food. Work becomes karma yoga. Even difficulties, while still challenging, start to feel different because your core essence, that screen of awareness, remains fundamentally unshaken.
The sutras assure us that this freedom, this peace, isn't some far-off goal to be attained after death. It is the recognition of your own intrinsic nature, which is always present, always free, right here, right now. You just have to recognize it.
What an incredible journey we've taken today into the Mandukya Upanishad and the Brahma Sutras. From exploring the cosmic vibration of Om through the subtle dance of our own states of consciousness and arriving at the unwavering truth of Turiya, that underlying reality. We've really seen how these ancient texts offer such a profound framework for understanding our deepest self.
Yes, and the core message that echoes through both, loud and clear, is that stunning identity. Your individual self, your Atman, is non-different from the universal reality Brahman. And that opening call of the Brahma Sutras, Athato Brahma Jinasa, now therefore the inquiry into Brahman, is really an invitation extended to you, the listener, right now, to take up this inquiry earnestly, to look behind the curtain of appearances and to begin living in the awareness that ultimately all is one interconnected being.
And ultimately, the journey described isn't really about becoming something new, something you're not already. It seems it's about realizing what you already are beneath all the layers. It's about merging that sense of an individual self back into the supreme self, not like entering through a gate, but more like, as the Mandukya puts it, the Atman entering the Atman, the individual dissolving into the total.
Beautifully put. So perhaps the next time you find yourself just observing your thoughts float by, or maybe recalling a vivid dream, or even simply waking up refreshed from a deep, dreamless sleep. Remember, these aren't just mundane biological occurrences. According to this wisdom, they are potential gateways. They are clues pointing towards a deeper reality. The map provided by these texts might seem cryptic at first glance, but the promise is that if one truly drinks deeply from this wisdom, one tastes the essence of infinity itself. The self you might be seeking is already the Brahman you long for. So maybe the final thought isn't just what stands out to you from this wisdom, but rather what might begin to shift within you now that you've had this glimpse of your own boundless, unchanging nature.